that... Wait, Dr. Phil was here.
Je huurt een huis. Zonde van je geld. En je wilt ook nog een huis kopen. Stop! Start nu met Woonkien en houd jaarlijks €10.000 of meer over. Bel nu 0900 8411.
Watch It. Entertainment.nl. Movies and games.
Start met Woonkien en houd jaarlijks €10.000 of meer over. Bel nu 0900 8411.
Vanavond een nieuwe aflevering van Westenwind.
Ik heb een soort flitsen.
Hij gebruikt je. Idioot.
Max, laat me helemaal niet vallen. Jij hebt me laten vallen, ja?
Westenwind bij RTL 4 om 9:30 vanavond.
Sylvana Simons en Hadassa de Boer krijgen herenbezoek.
Zou jij ooit een facelift nemen?
Is het mogelijk? Dat zou je als man toch niet in je hoofd halen?
Ik ben zeer monogaam.
Als mijn vrouw niet voor mij wil koken, dan flikker ik eruit.
En ze ontfutselen die heren heel wat bekentenissen.
Als je dat zou willen, kun je gewoon strak je kist in. Dat zou ik geen probleem vinden.
Zo'n lach op je gezicht van, ik zit toch eigenlijk wel een beetje te jokken.
De waarheid op tafel in Met Man en Macht om 10:30 vanavond.
Polis Direct, een verzekeraar van BOVAG, roept al jaren dat zij u een 10% goedkopere autoverzekering kunnen bieden. En nu is er iemand die zegt dat hij nog goedkoper uit is.
Ja.
Dus u denkt goedkoper uit te zijn dan bij Polis Direct?
Ja hoor.
Onmogelijk. Hoe dan?
Niet verzekeren.
Niet?
Nee, niet nodig.
Heeft u nou een echte auto? Dan gaat Polis Direct gegarandeerd 10% onder uw huidige premie zitten. Met uitstekende polisvoorwaarden. Bel dus direct, Polis Direct. 0800 0707 en vraag naar de voorwaarden. Want alleen je auto niet verzekeren is goedkoper.
Heeft u misschien zo'n muntje voor me?
Has my attitude changed since I saw my first tiny line? No, only my makeup.
Nieuw Smooth Result Foundation van Maybelline New York. Vervaag die eerste rimpeltjes waar je absoluut niet op zit te wachten. Een luchtige formule, vol vochtinbrengende bestanddelen met vitamine A, C en E en een optimale bescherming tegen de zon. Het resultaat?
A fresh, smooth, naturally glowing you.
Nieuw Smooth Result voor een jonger ogende huid van Maybelline New York.
Now that's smooth.
Maybe she's born with it. Maybelline.
En als uw occasion in het eerste jaar totaal los wordt verklaard, krijgt u de aanschafwaarde 100% vergoed.
It was owning up to something you needed to own up to, and then finding out who are the 5 pivotal people in your life. For example, let's say that you're dealing with a woman that has been molested by a trusted man early in her life. Sadly, that's a pivotal person in her life. That person has written very tragically and very sadly.
Pivotal in your
that's
life.
right. And so you got to say, I feel like damaged goods here. I feel like I don't have anything good to offer. I'm unclean and impure. That's because of what he did to me, and I want my power back. I'm not going to live that way
What do
anymore.
you mean by authentic self versus personal self?
It's doing what you truly want and need to do. I believe every one of us is uniquely skilled. I believe every one of us has certain characteristics. I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't draw a straight line. I have no artistic ability whatsoever. But there are things that I am good at, things I've developed across time. Analyzing things in a fast hurry is one of them. So if that's what I'm good at and I find a way to do that in my life, then that's authentically who I am. If on the other hand, I'm trying to be somebody I'm not because what my mom wants me to do or what the world wants me to do, then that's a fictional life. And it takes so much energy to deny who you really are and pretend to be somebody you are not. It drains your life energy and there's nothing left.
How do you react when psychiatrists and others say, oh, Dr. Phil, That's pop stuff. That's easy to say, and he's very glib, and he's very good at saying it, but strong emotional problems, they're core problems. They're not solved with reading a book.
Well, first off, you'd be amazed how much I agree with what they say sometimes, because sometimes there are problems that are terribly, terribly complex. So I would embrace their ideology in that regard many times. On the other hand, I believe that anything someone can responsibly, maturely, and sincerely do to heighten people's awareness about their ability to control their quality of life, about their ability to take charge of their life. And I don't care if I'm talking about postpartum depression, or I'm talking about anxiety attacks, or I'm talking about problems in marriage. I guarantee you, I can do more to raise the awareness on those issues in an hour talking to 10 million people than a psychiatrist or psychologist, well-intended and hardworking, could do in an entire career. Do I take the people as far as someone who is doing regular therapy with them on a regular basis? Of course not. But I am not under the misapprehension that I'm doing 8-minute cures. What I'm doing is taking examples in people's lives that others can see themselves in and becoming an emotional compass for those people. If you come on the show and I'm talking to you about your fear of rejection or your anxieties about asking for more in this world, and I deal with that, I'm going to point you in a direction and ask you some hard questions, give you some things to consider. The real work starts when you get through talking to me many times, and so I don't think I'm curing people. I think I'm waking them up.
You can do the real work.
Of course you can.
You can apply and do the real work, no matter what the defining moment was that made you the way you are.
You can, and the idea that in order to get your life in order, you've got to go find yourself a therapist and pay him $180 an hour 3 times a week for 5 years is offensive to my sensibilities. I don't think you have to do that. Now, there are some situations where that ain't enough, but there are many situations where if you'll give people a good, thoughtful book that is a guide, it's a manual to dealing with those things, they can take that and in the privacy of their own home, at their own pace, they can do a good job of doing it.
More with Dr. Phil McGraw. Dr. Phil starts his own TV show September 9th. By the way, we mentioned it's on all the NBC O&Os. It's also on many CBS stations, ABC stations, independents. He's all over the place. They're well up over 160 affiliates already. They'll cover the country by the time they go on the air. We'll be right back. Insanity once was repeating the same act that has befallen you in the past, expecting a different result.
Yeah.
Why are by that definition, are so many people insane?
Because we got a world full of right fighters. I call them right fighters.
I thought you were going to say something else.
They want to be right. I mean, everybody wants to be right, and we trust ourselves, so we think, hey, I got this figured out. Fathers do it terribly. They'll say to their kid, you need to not drink and get home on time. Why? Because I'm your father and I said so, that's why. Well, you're right. You are your father and you are the man in authority, but how's that working for you? I mean, if the kid's got 9 piercings, 4 tattoos, and is coming in 3 hours late and telling you to kiss his foot,
it ain't working.
Or something else, it's not working. So, but we continue to do it. I talk about people.
The question is why?
Because we are so rigid, we get committed to what we know and feel like if we give that up, if we give up what we think we know, then we're venturing into some unknown. And sometimes things that don't work are like not very good old friends. They're not a good friend, but they're an old friend. It's familiar. I'm going to do what my dad did. I'm going to do what my mother did. That's just the way we are. And I think that is incredibly stupid. And I've done it in my life. I'll bet you've done it. And then finally we change.
This morning?
Yeah. So finally we change, but it's like we just beat our head against the wall till it's a bloody nub, and then somebody comes along and says, have you noticed that's not working? Move, do something different. And so I think it's just a matter of habit. But people talk about breaking habits. You don't break habits. What you do is replace one behavior with a new behavior. Because if you just stop doing it, and you don't put anything in its place, it'll come back. You got to be willing to learn. That's why there's an old saying that psychology works best for those who need it least. You know, the more screwed up you are, the more rigid you are, the more backed up you are, the more your ears are shut, and you won't listen and you won't hear. So I think we have to decide that we create our own results in this life, which is why I said self matters. You matter in the outcomes of your life.
Do you think you can apply any of this to, like, alcohol addiction? Or is that another ballpark?
Well, I think that there's one thing that I've seen as a common denominator over 30 years of working with people, and that is whether I'm dealing with alcohol addiction, drug addiction, food addiction, anxiety, depression, divorce, whatever. The common denominator is a lack of self. I mean, it's a lack of knowing who you are. Why else would you go taking drugs and alcohol if you weren't looking for something that was a void in you? You're looking to fill a void. And I always say I am a huge fan of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm a huge fan of Narcotics Anonymous. I think those are fabulous programs because they're action-oriented and they hold people accountable. And they say, you don't cure this, you manage it. And one of my life laws is life is managed, it's not cured. And so I'm a huge fan of that. I'm very careful to not oversimplify addiction. I think people, often just want to tell people, look, you just need to tough up, buck up, and get over that. It's not that simple. I've seen a lot of white knuckle sober folks. They just like, I'm sober 19 days in a row. Well, but they're white knuckling. They're not really dealing with the issues. And I think, again, if I can do things to wake people up, give them a wake-up call and say, don't settle for this in your life. There is a way to get out of this. Am I going to give them an answer to alcoholism or addiction in a few minutes on television? No, but if I can drive some of them to therapy, to AA, to something that will change for them, then that's a good thing.
A cardiologist can have heart trouble. Is there anything about you want to change?
Oh, how much